Okay, so today we're making a really interesting dish. If you have those days when you wake up thinking, what do I want for dinner? Do I want pasta? Do I want pie? Pasta, pie, what do I do? Or is that just me? Anyway, today what we're making is a kind of a pasta pie. It's called Timpana. It's a Maltese dish. It's a bit complicated, so get prepared. As far as I know, I think it's also made in Sicily. It's called Timpano, but I've never had it there. But it is very popular in Malta. So what we're gonna do is, I've got all the ingredients ready. Before you start making this dish, please go into the notes, look at all the ingredients, get them all prepared. It's just going to make life so much easier. And also, when we get started, we can actually do this in two separate sections. I'm going to make it all in one, but if you wanted, you can prepare all the fillings one day, put them in the fridge, and the next day you can prepare the pie, put it all together. One other thing is that normally in Malta they actually use rabbit meat in this, which I'm not going to use because it's really hard to catch a rabbit at night. The second thing is sometimes people use pork and things, which I'm not going to do. We're a Muslim family, so we're going to use lamb, but you can adjust according to your needs. Okay, let's get started. Okay, so we need a good sized pan, just so you can stir things in kind of a medium-sized pan. We'll start with putting a bit of olive oil, just by eye. And so when this warms up a bit, what I'm going to do is fry and saute the onions and the garlic. Alright, so the onions in. Onions normally take a little bit longer, so I don't put the garlic in at the same time. So let's just give this a stir. Just give this 2 minutes and let's get the garlic ready. So now I'm going to add a bit of garlic. I hope you guys can hear me okay. We'll find out. So I've got a new mic. In our last recipe we had a bit of an accident. Everything fell down and smashed. Just turn this down a little bit because garlic can just burn quite easily. And that's about enough, I think. And what we'll do is we're just going to add tomato puree to this now. Some recipes say to put tomato puree in later once you put the meat in. I like to do this at the start. I've actually learned this from some Turkish recipes. This is what they like to do. They like to kind of fry the tomato puree at the start, and it just kind of lifts the flavor of the puree. I think it's a good way of doing it. And the second thing we're going to do in a minute is we're going to add the stock cube to this as well. So just give me 1 second. So this is what I normally do. You can do it differently. Normally people add the stock cube to water and then add that at the end. But again, I like to add this here, just chop it into bits. And then if you just fry this a little bit, it really enhances the flavor of the stock cube. I think I saw Marco Pierre White do this a few times. He's one of my favorite chefs. I think he's really good. So he must know what he's talking about. So I'm going to add a bit of water to this just to deglaze everything, because it's kind of, don't want it sticking at the bottom or burning. I actually had the fire really low, so I'm going to turn it up a bit now. This is one of those recipes that can end in a divorce at home, so be careful. It's very long and complicated. I don't want anyone in the kitchen and I'm making this. That's my wife laughing over there. I'm glad she's still laughing. Okay, so at this stage now, we can add the meat. So there was a little bit of water from before. We don't really need to add any more water at this stage because the mincemeat is going to release its own water. And what we're going to do is we're going to keep cooking and keep stirring, because we don't want lumps in here, and also we want this to go brown and all the water to get absorbed again, because that's where all the flavors are. So I'll just do this for about 5-10 minutes. Okay, so now we're ready to put the spices in here. Have a look at the spices, they look so nice, all the colors and everything. Yeah, the meat was kind of drying up, so I think this is a good time to add the spices. Give it a couple of seconds and then we'll add the tomato. I'm using canned tomato just to make life a little bit easier. If you use whole tomatoes, it'll be in the recipe, but you can just grate them. Right, so The sauce is reduced. I actually let it cook here with a covered lid for about 40 minutes or so. Once the liquid is dry, if the liquid gets dry, you can always add a little bit of water and then start cooking again, and then just put the lid on it for a little while so that everything gets cooked thoroughly. The sauce is now ready. Basically the sauce needs to be consistency, so it's not quite as liquid as you would have for like a bolognese, but it needs not to be dry as well. So somewhere in between. This is just right. So what I'm going to do is put this to one side. That's ready. And now we're going to have, one second. Okay, so now we've got like a big bowl and we've got 3 eggs in here. If you look at the ingredients, basically all the things that we needed, we need 3 eggs that we're going to whisk. 2 eggs we've already boiled. The pasta we've already prepared according to the instructions on the packet, just so that everything is ready when we're kind of combining things. So this bowl, it just needs to be big enough so that we can combine all the different ingredients, the pasta, the sauce and everything in here. So we're going to start off with the 3 eggs. Just whisk those. Okay, I think that's all right. And then I'm going to get the Parmesan cheese and grate that in here. Just want to get the waxy bit in. Okay, we're just gonna mix that again. And then let me just get the pasta that we had prepared. One second. The pasta is all ready. Basically what you need to do is when you're boiling the pasta, according to the packet instructions, just stop 2 minutes before the time, because we need it like al dente, not too cooked. Go in here. I'm not going to need it, but just in case, I preserved some of the liquid from the pasta so that when we put the sauce together, if it's too dry, we can use that water. 1 second. Right, so in here we've got the Parmesan cheese, the eggs and the pasta. Mix that up a bit. And now this ragù that we prepared can go in here as well. So really it looks like dinner's ready, but then we start all over again because we still need to make a pie. When our kids were younger, we used to have this thing where we used to have a week where we get any cuisine from around the world. And for that 1 week, we all used to make different things. So I remember we had like a Maltese week because my wife is Maltese. And my daughter, I think when she was about 8, my daughter and I, we made this together. That's the last time we made this. So it's kind of those memories. But I think that's a good idea to get kids kind of used to different ingredients from different parts of the world, different food. Right, so this is all looking good now, and what we're going to do is now just leave this in the fridge to chill, and while that's happening we can go ahead and we can start getting the pie pastry ready. Alright, so now we're just going to make the pastry for the pie. I've got the flour measured out here. I'm not using any salt because my butter is already salted, so just combine the butter with the flour and mix it with our fingers. It's a bit hard, but that's good because it needs to be a bit cold butter and cold water. Okay, my hands are tired, but I think we're getting there. Okay, so now I'm just going to wash my hands and then we'll add a bit of water to this. Okay, I think this is starting to look good now. Okay, this is good. What we're going to do is split this kind of in two, just roughly. One half can be maybe a bit bigger than the other because that's going to be the base. Alright, so I've just got this out of the fridge. I actually put it in the freezer because I didn't have enough time. I've got a cake tin ready, all buttered up, greased up, and unlike with traditional pies, we're not going to use a pie dish for this. We're going to use a cake tin, and it's good to use a cake tin where you have the spring where you can open it afterwards. The reason is because basically the trick with timpana is that you want to make sure that the pastry is cooked but inside it remains quite moist still. So if we use a cake tin, it's less in diameter and it's taller, so we can kind of make the pie a bit higher. So it's going to, you'll get a lot better results with a cake tin. So let's do that. Right, so to start with, I'm just going to lightly flour the surface. All right, the pressure's on. This is the tricky bit. Okay, so we're ready. Basically, I just patched up some of these patches. I performed plastic surgery and this is looking good now. Don't want to jinx it. And I've got the filling here, put that in. Alright, so remember those 2 eggs that we had hard boiled? We're going to just layer those on top here. Okay, I think that's good. We'll now make the top pastry and finish it off. Alright, so this is the second bit of the pastry, the second half, minus some of the bits that we chopped off for the surgery. Okay, this should normally be more straightforward than the base one, but because we did such a good job on the base, imagine if we mess up now. Okay, let's just measure this against the tin. Yeah, I think that's good. Oh, look at that. If my mom was watching right now, she'd be very proud. Okay, we've just tucked the sides, sealed it, and now I'm just going to get a mixture together to coat it. Okay, so I've got an egg, put a pinch of salt in here, and I'm going to put a little bit of milk in here as well. Whisk that, and we'll just brush this. Okay, so we're all ready. Before we put this in the oven, I'm just going to make 1 or 2 little insertions here just for the steam to come out. And now we're going to put this in the oven for about 50 minutes and then we'll take it out and I'll show you what it looks like. Right, so it's been about 50 minutes or maybe about 45-50 minutes. I've got this out. It looks really nice. So we're going to let this cool for maybe about 5 minutes and then I'll trim it from the edges and then see if we can get the sides of the cake tin off, and then we'll put it back in the oven for maybe about another 15 minutes. So yeah, we're almost there. Alright, so this has been cooling for about five minutes. Now I'll put it on a baking tray just because I'm going to cut the edges so that the sides can be released and just so not to make a mess. Okay, so now the moment of glory. I'm going to take these edges off. Ooh. Okay, so now the moment of glory. I'm going to take these edges off. Ooh. Alright, so as I'm releasing this, I'm just trying to make sure that any edges don't get caught. So I'm just kind of pushing them inwards to just clear the way. Woohoo! Right, so what I'm going to do is just clear these bits and pieces and then we're going to put this back in the oven for another 15 minutes. So give me 1 second. Okay, so all looks good. I've cleared up the bits and pieces. Just turn this around a little bit. So we're going to put this back in the oven for another 15 minutes and then we're done. So this has now been in the oven for another 15 minutes without the sides on. It looks perfect. I'm going to let this rest and maybe give it about 10-15 minutes just to rest, and then I'll slice it and show you what it looks like inside. Brilliant, I'm so excited. I think the whole family is excited. We're going to dig in. Basically, you can have a bit of salad with it. You can have some mashed potato chips, anything you like can go on the side. So try it out. Let us know what you think.